One of the most neglected areas of potential improvement for speakers and executives who want to up their game is the strategic use of the voice. Perhaps because, as people so often report, no one likes the sound of their own voice. Few of these leaders invest the time in working on improving their voices. That's too bad, because lots of research suggests that various aspects of the voice can strongly influence success or failure in both public speaking and leadership around the conference room table. The classic research on the effect of the voice on leadership focused on U.S. presidential campaigns because so much was at stake. The candidate with the lower voice has won ever since we have recordings of these spectacles. That finding was enough, apparently, to push the team around President George H.W. Bush in 1990 to try to get him to lower his voice, since his challenger Bill Clinton's voice was a pleasing baritone, whereas Bush's voice was more like a tenor. The story goes that Mr. Bush tried to lower his voice to match or surpass Clinton's, but ended up making himself hoarse under the pressure of the campaign and the constant speaking required. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher fared much better. Her voice was initially deemed too highly pitched, and to lower middle class the British really care about such things to be elected. She went to work on a more reasonable schedule than Bush's, and the rest is prime ministerial history. This sort of work is difficult and should only be attempted under the watchful eye of an expert. It turns out that it is not so much the absolute pitch of the voice, but where it is in your particular vocal range that matters. Your voice sends out different signals about your confidence and leadership ability depending on where it is in your range. Generally, the higher you go in your range, the more excited or stressed you sound. That's great if you are trying to warn someone of an oncoming bus, but less helpful if you are campaigning for high office, where presumably you need to be confident and in charge, or at least sound like it. We use our voices to signal dominance and status, according to the experts, and we're better to do that than in a presidential or prime ministerial campaign. Recently, I ran across a study from 2016 that looks at the early moments of an interaction. If you lower your pitch, you will be perceived as more influential, more dominant, and of higher status. If you raise your pitch, you signal the opposite. The good news is that you can presumably carry that off for those few seconds without damaging your voice or breaking a sweat. Bush might have been able to retain the presidency if only he had started each debate with a few low-pitched words, something like, "It's great to be here in Texas," and then not worried about the rest of it. We'll never know. But it seems like it wouldn't hurt you the next time you stand up to give a speech or walk into a boardroom to put your best James Earl Jones or Dua Lipa voice on and greet everyone with a nice low-pitched hello. Who knows? You might even start to like your own voice a bit better.